the Undercurrent, your source for grassroots news. I'm Lauren Windsor, and we are here in the office of the President of the American Federation of Teachers, Randi Weingarten. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh my God, it's great to be with you. Thank you for wanting to talk to us.
So on Monday, you're
I feel like I'm a young Turk now.
Well, please join us. I
oh my God, it would be my aspiration.
So I don you.
Thank you.
I'm knighting you a Turk.
Thank you.
Here and now. So it's official. So on Monday, you're launching a new initiative, a day of action in 60 cities across the country. Can you tell us about that? What was the impetus for the action?
This is real movement building, grassroots movement building. So it didn't start just last week. It wasn't an idea that emanated out of an office in Washington, this office or any other office. It was really a matter of parents and teachers coming together, community groups, local unions, other activists saying, how do we get to a new direction in public schooling? Because austerity, budget cuts, closing instead of fixing schools, testing as the almighty thing for everything, including how students do, evaluating teachers, closing schools, that hasn't actually moved the needle in American public education. And worse, it's actually demoralized people and actually made people very dispirited about American education. We need a new direction in American education, and what you started hearing is parents saying the same thing, tired of being divided from teachers. Teachers saying, how can we actually use the tools we have to make a difference in the lives of kids to help the whole child? Why can't we have a fixation on the whole child rather than a fixation on testing? And so about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we started with these town hall meetings in 10 cities around the country. And what you saw from the town hall meetings was a system of strategies going forward that seemed to be common. Then we had a big conference in October, and out of that conference, 100 groups were at that conference, signing principles for unity. And out of that conference came this day of action, so that we not only are doing this work at a local level for a new direction, for reclaiming the promise of public education, for great neighborhood schools, for welcoming safe environments, for having engaged curriculum to ensure critical thinking and problem solving, but also art and music. So not only doing this in our own districts, but showing the country that this is a movement. So 60 places across the country are staging the same movement sometime during the day of December 9th, the day of action.
So at the same time that you're talking about this movement to reinforce public education, you also see a movement to privatize education. Right. ALEC is holding a conference right now in Washington, D.C., the States and Nation Policy Summit. The Guardian came out with a trove of documents detailing their financial woes as a result of many of their initiatives. The model legislation, namely with Trayvon Martin and the voter suppression, but also for privatizing education. So what impact has their model legislation on privatizing education had on teachers in this country?
The impact that ALEC has had on public education has been devastating. And so in some ways, what we've seen, and this movement, this grassroots movement, is in direct, is a direct fight back to what ALEC did. What we've seen in the documents that ALEC has put, that the Guardian has put out about ALEC, is a contrived, intentional, deliberate attempt to destabilize public education, to use the austerity of the last recession to starve public schools, and to create a sense that there's hopelessness in public education so that they can privatize with reckless alternatives. And what we're seeing in the documents was this was not just, you know, something that happened with one corporate donor or with just the Koch brothers, that this was a deliberate, contrived effort to divide teachers from parents, to actually take away economic rights of workers, to stop collective bargaining, to diminish democratic rights, and frankly, it all got revealed because of the Stand Your Ground laws that resulted in the death of Trayvon Martin.
Within the ALEC motto, free markets is one of the trifecta statements. their patron saint is Milton Friedman. So to pretend that public education is something that is foundational to freedom, it's not. Ultimately, this is about union busing and destroying the system of public education to build it into a private one.
See, I think that the ALEC folks never thought, never believed in public education, but they needed to actually try to destroy public education. And they needed to try to destroy teachers in order to try to destroy public education. Because if you think about it, if you ask parents, parents actually believe in public education. They want great neighborhood public schools. And when you ask parents about teachers, they'll say, I love my child's teacher. You know, they may not know about other children's teachers, they may not know about the unions or things like that. Now, we know from the evidence that free markets are never about trying to help kids. Free markets are about actually, you know, creating profits, having a niche market, and trying to, you know, do the best you can for that niche market. But even in the school situation, there's no evidence that says that charters and vouchers do anything but create winners and losers. And so all the other arguments...
charters that are cherry picking essentially like the best students, so that the charters might be better performing, but if they're you know, refusing entry of like harder to teach students, or turning those students out that are harder to teach, all of the harder to teach students get thrown out into the public system, and then their performance suffers as a result.
Charters could, if they were incubators of ideas, they have a place in a big public system. But what the people who have pushed them, like the Murdochs of the world, the Rupert Murdochs of the world, the Jeb Bushes of the world, they're using them as a tool to club public schools. So they have, you know, advantages in terms of having a lottery and having contracts and not taking all the kids from communities. And even with that, they haven't done any better over the course of 20 years. When you took all the charter schools together and all the other public schools together, they haven't done any better than other public schools. And the same is true in terms of vouchers. And now what we're seeing is that some of the voucher proponents who want to just take vouchers, use them privately, make a lot of money off them, and then pretend to give their kids some education. What we're seeing them now say is that the kids in voucher schools shouldn't have to take the standardized tests. The kids in public schools should have to take them, but not the kids in voucher schools. So what we're starting to see is that the theory of the case is fraying all over the place, meaning that the people who are really pushing for vouchers and charters, like the Jeb Bushes of the world, like the Koch brothers, like the Rupert Murdochs, never were interested in helping all kids succeed in the first place. They were interested in the profits and then the privatization that they could do, and in getting that $800 billion that was part of public education. Number two, they were never interested in the investments that we need to do for kids so that we can actually create paths to the American dream. So you see this kind of conspiracy between the privateers and the austerity mongers doing everything they could to demonize, to scapegoat both public teachers and their unions and public education as an enterprise.
Thank you so much for your time. You're so passionate. You're such a progressive warrior for social justice on so many fronts.
Thank you. And now I'm a young Turk.
And now you're a young Turk.
Thank
so
you.
there you have it. Thanks for watching. Get pulled in to the Undercurrent.
Undercurrent under the surface makes the mainstream get so nervous. It's time for purpose, for news to serve us, not with propaganda they use to hurt